Hello, welcome to Basketball Network. My name is Will, and here today we're speaking with six-time NBA All-Star and one of the most vicious dunkers of all time, Shawn Kemp, aka the Rain Man. Shawn, it's a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me, Will.
Pleasure is all ours. So a few days ago, it was announced that you're opening Seattle's first black-owned dispensary. So what was your motivation behind going into the cannabis business, and where did the idea come from?
Well, and I've thought about it for quite some time, but in business, sometimes you gotta wait for the right partner to team up with, and also you have to learn about the business. So with me, I still needed to learn about the cannabis business a lot. It was a lot to learn, and I'm still learning. And I had been checking for the last few years, but then all of a sudden I ran into some people that I had a meeting with, and then we had a great meeting, developed a friendship, and became partners. And it's been a real educational point for myself, but also a good business move for myself to work with somebody who knows about the business and who has my interests at best heart.
Mm-hmm. And the grand opening is this Friday, October 30th. From what I've seen, Gary Payton will also be present on the opening ceremony.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we're opening up this Friday. Gary's coming down, but part of the business in the store, what we're trying to do is get the store open, but we're out here trying to preach safety first, and I think things will go just fine.
I've read that Gary Payton is also in the same line of business since 2019. Is there any advice that he gave you beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just just make sure you do your research. Make sure you know the business. Don't jump into just anything, and just really be careful on the people that you partner up with. And that's exactly what I did. It took me a number of years. I'm just now doing this, but I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. It took that long for me to find the right people to work with. And that's sometimes in life, that's just the way it is. So, I'm very appreciative of it. And, I think for what we're trying to do here, I think we're headed in the right direction.
Excellent. That's definitely good to hear. Can you share more about the type of products you will have in your store, and dive more into that?
Well, I mean, we have everything products. As far as we have flour that we sell here, but we also have CBD stuff, and we have edibles. We have a lot of different products here. But the most important, from this business here, this is about sharing this business with the public. Also teaching people about the cannabis business who don't know about it. It's a very lucrative business, so we're trying to educate people in the right direction for they can be smarter if they choose to take this business route. We're trying to be educators of it, and I think those things are very important for me, because not only do I want to be successful doing this, but I would also like other people, minorities, different races, to be able to come down and get information on how to start their own business.
So it's all about sharing the knowledge.
Absolutely. I think, if you share your knowledge with what you have and share it with the community, obviously you'll do well yourself, but I think people appreciate what you're trying to do more.
And what are your thoughts about, the use of cannabis by NBA players? Do you think the NBA as a league is making progress in loosening the rules, especially when more and more players are speaking about the benefits of different cannabis-related products, especially after injuries?
Absolutely. I think, what we're all realizing about cannabis is that not only are the laws loosening up a little bit, but also in athletics, I think the rules will start to bend and be more flexible for athletes to be able to use cannabis products, whether it be CBD lotions or for them to even be taking on just smoking marijuana.
Because what I've heard several players speaking about is it's much more easier for them to consume this type of product than it is to take different painkillers or different medication that they were used to be given to.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about your body in a period of time. A lot of young guys who get hurt, who have injuries. So you're pumping a lot of medicine and pills in your body. This could be a solution eventually who would stop some of those guys from taking so much pills and medicine. This could help, I think. And the cannabis business is relatively still young since this came out and become legal. And there's still a ways to grow yet before they get to that level where they'll make it legal in sports.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's all about proper education. At the end of the day, it's educating people on the pros and cons, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're doing here. Not only am I trying to bring good business back into the community, but I'm trying to educate people.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk to you about your impressive NBA career. On our network, there's so many fans that you still have that still remember the days, especially from playing for the Supersonics, and you were actually the youngest player coming into the '89 NBA draft. How hard was it for you as a 20-year-old to make this transition coming into basically straight out of high school to the NBA?
Man, it was very hard. The most part is like in 19, 20 years old, you got to learn to practice. So you lose so much of your natural childhood because you're in the gym just grinding and practicing. And that's how it was, like from the ages of 19 to the ages of 25. It wasn't a whole lot of fun for me. It was mostly just really basketball, a lot of practice, really just trying to push myself to become the best. And whether you ever were the best or not, you never know, but you try to push yourself like you're one of the best in the world. And that's what I was doing when I was 19 years old. So I really respect the guys who grind, guys like LeBron and guys, who have put that time in, seeing what they've done throughout their career, the longevity of it. It really lets you know what type of person they are, and it lets you know how hard they put that work in.
Mm-hmm. When you came into the league as a rookie, you didn't get much playing time in your first season. How did you cope with that? And what would be your advice for younger players who are in somewhat similar situation, especially if they're coming to the NBA at such early age?
Man, it's tough. Like mentally, it's tough. So the thing about it is that you play your whole life, and then all of a sudden you make it to the pros, and then you're not playing. You're almost a cheerleader at times, but you tell yourself that you have to keep motivating yourself, because the only way that you're going to get on court is to make yourself better, and that comes through practice, through repetitions, getting with the right coaches, doing the right drills, and it's just over and over and over. Sometimes it can be really tough on you mentally, but I think as a young player, it's a good thing to go through, because you learn so fast, man. I at that age, I learned so fast because I was afraid of failing, and I think that right there was motivation for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was there a mentor in those first couple of years that kind of took you under his wing and showed you how to be a professional?
Well, I think all the guys did, between me and you. Like all the guys did. I was very fortunate to play with a group of guys who saw a young kid come in, and then they wanted this young kid to succeed. It could have been just the opposite, where these guys like Xavier McDaniels, Derek McKee, a lot of these guys who groomed me a little bit. Nate McMillan, a lot of these guys who groomed me, that they could have turned their shoulder on me, but they didn't. They worked with me, stuck with me through the good and the bad and the immature times that I had, and it came out to be pretty good for me.
Mm-hmm. But you actually made a really, really incredible jump in your second season.
Right.
Obviously, you got more opportunity to play, but what was the story behind your emergence? Were there any parts of your game that you saw the biggest improvement coming into the second season?
Well, I think just identifying with things. Like the first season, my first season, everything was new to me. So, here I am. I went from being 18 years old, and you're like, oh man, I'm playing against Magic Johnson. I'm playing against Larry Bird. So, of course you're going to be in a little bit of like, man, this is Larry Bird. This is Magic. This is Isaiah Thomas. So, you're in awe a little bit, and then all of a sudden something clicks in your head, and it's like, man, these guys are kicking my butt. They're kicking my butt really well. I've got to get better. The first time I played against Larry Bird, he scored like 47 points on me in 3 quarters. So there was only one way to do, and that's to get better. I couldn't get any worse.
Yeah. That was a good learning experience for sure.
That was a great learning experience.
In your second year, you made it to the playoffs where you lost to the Trailblazers in 5 games. What was that experience like? Playing in your first postseason ever. How you were actually quite close in upsetting the first seeded
Right.
Blazers.
No, we were very close, and at that time, Portland had a very good team. They were actually challenging Michael Jordan. They actually went to the finals at that time to challenge Jordan, and they lost. But it was just a great learning experience for myself. They had a guy on Portland's team. His name was Buck Williams. Mm-hmm. Buck Williams, he's the strongest human being in this entire world. He's like, I was so fearful to play against this guy, man. It was like he would put me in like a little pretzel hold every time I would try to play defense on him and just squeeze me. So it was a true learning experience.
That was also the year where your famous nickname, the Rain Man, was born. Right. It was given to you by Kevin Celebro. Yeah. How do you feel about this new name that came about?
Well, it felt good, and speaking of that, I'm glad you mentioned it. Actually that year, those things build confidence. So when they give you a nickname, when you're a young guy like that, you're 19, you're 20 years old. They name you the Rain Man. They name a shoe after you. You feel invincible, man. You feel, at that age, you feel like you're like Superman. So it definitely just helped my confidence. It helped me grow as a young man, and it also taught me that hard work pays off.
Mm. And speaking of hard work, coming into your third year, it seems like that was the time when you established yourself as a legitimate double machine in the league.
Right.
And you were actually a huge part of Seattle's playoff run. There was in the first round you were playing against the Golden State Warriors, which had Hardaway, Mullen, Marciulionis. I think you averaged 22 points and 16 rebounds per game during this 4-game series. It's sort of seen as your coming out party in the NBA. Like that was the year, and that was the series when you came out. This is Shawn Kemp, and I'm here to rule the NBA for the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. That playoff for that series is, we always say, we have this saying that we used to say, it was like, that's when the man-child was born. So, it definitely, that was the year that everything started to come together. Golden State really challenged me physically. They were the first team to kind of beat up on me physically. And then, you can't cry about it, so you just have to fight back, and that's what I did. And things turned out well. Averaging 22 points, 16 rebounds in that series definitely was a confidence builder for myself.
It was, that series specifically against the Warrior was also memorable because of the dunk on Alton Lister, which is,
it's a Lister blister.
It's the Lister. Is that your favorite dunk ever?
It's not my favorite one, but it's on my top 5 list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So your top 5. What are the other 4 that you can remember?
Well, there was actually 2 dunks in that game that were really great. I don't know if you remember, but it was one dunk where I dunked on Chris Gatlin, and he turned around and shook my hand on the court, which never happens. It only happened to me one time my whole life playing basketball, where I dunked on the guy and he turned around and shook my hand. So that was great. The other dunk was in New York City. That was my favorite because that was the first dunk. It was a double pump reverse. And then the rest of the dunks were like on 7-footers. I dunked on Akeem Olajuwon. I dunked on Mutombo. That felt great.
That
was fun. Yeah.
That Supersonics team at the beginning of '90s was something else. It was a special group of players, and season 93-94, you had 63 wins, and you were actually one of the main contenders for a championship that year. But unfortunately, you came across the Nuggets in that upset. Essentially, what happened in that series?
Well, I think sometimes, you as a team, you go as far as your chemistry goes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens. If you ever see a lot of teams play like during the regular season and they look great, and then they get into the postseason and they don't look so well, that's because their chemistry isn't right. In order for you to win like during the regular season and then continually to win in the playoffs, everybody has to be on the same page. And then also guys have to take sacrifices. And the main thing that we learned, as I learned as a young man, is that you don't always have to score all the points. You don't have to always get all the rebounds. It could be one guy this night, a different guy the next night. And sometimes younger players always, they go after the top of everything. But sometimes it's best to share the wealth a little bit, because then the opposing team don't know which guy is going to do well that night. So I think as the Sonics got better, myself and Gary and other guys, we learned to share the wealth a little bit. Instead of us always being the main studs of scoring and rebounding, it was like, let's let some of the other guys score and rebound, because that's important also.
Mm-hmm. Well, essentially, basketball is a team-oriented sport, and individual play can get you so far,
Right, absolutely, and that's just so true. And and that's the pressure that sometimes young guys feel when they get on the court. You want to do so well, and you want to impress people so much that sometimes you don't play as team-oriented as you should.
Mm-hmm. But coming into that, 2 years after that, you made it to the NBA Finals, where you went up against the Chicago Bulls. Can you talk more about the series, and what was it like going against probably the best team in NBA history, because you gave them a run for their money?
No, absolutely. I had always enjoyed playing against the Chicago Bulls, and I will say this, man, they were probably the best team in history, because they were the best coach team, and also they were the best mentally prep team. So they were so smart. And Michael Jordan was a great player, but his greatest asset is that he played with very, very smart teammates. Mm-hmm. And they really sacrificed a lot of different things in order for that team to win. And he was smart also about himself too. So it was like the perfect match. And playing against Chicago was a learning experience, but a good one. And I'm from outside of Chicago. I was born in Indiana, right outside of Chicago. So I really had to play well against Chicago, because it was just it was personal against me. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to show everybody back home that we could stick it to them. So it was just a personal game for me to be able to stick it to Michael Jordan. And we did that for a few games, but of course he wins, like always.
Like always, yeah. That's what everybody says. Basketball is a game Michael Jordan always wins.
Always wins, man. Always wins.
Your former coach George Karl recently actually disclosed that the Supersonics had a deal in place to bring Clyde Drexler, and that was very close to happening. If the deal had gone through, do you think you would have won the title? Do you think he would help the team? I know it's hard talking from this perspective, but it's always using these conversations.
No, I think so. I think when we were sometimes at points in the playoffs when we played, we were missing one person. We had myself, we had Gary, and we were also missing one person. Detlef was great, but we were missing one other scorer. If we could have got a hold of Clyde Drexler, sure, that would have helped. Would have made us win a championship? I'm not sure if it would have made us win a championship, but it definitely would have made us better.
Speaking about the dynamic duos in NBA history, your name and Gary Payton's name is always connected. What was it that made it work so well between the two of you?
Man, he's the talker and I'm the doer. I do all the work and he does all the talk. So that's what makes it work, And it's just like two buddies playing with each other. He's yapping and I'm out there hustling. Yeah. And it's just the perfect matchup. And then I yap at him and then he comes back and he plays real hard. So we're just two guys that respect each other. And, Gary's good. He's talking right. Trust me, he's talking right now. He's somewhere talking right now.
Yeah, that's what a lot of NBA players said, that they never met a player that is able to talk so much during an NBA game.
That's not the
And
first time
playing
I've
the
heard.
defense and orchestrating the offense, doing everything at the same time.
Absolutely, man, and he's pretty good at it. Like, if you ever seen a person who can do 3 or 4 things at once, he's the one person who can do that. He
Yeah,
can
yeah.
talk, have a conversation with somebody else, and cuss you out at the same time.
Yeah, Gary was a special type of player for sure. One of the things that was very memorable about your Supersonics days was the 4 slam dunk contests that you participated in. Which one was the most memorable one in your opinion, and what do you think of the slam dunk contest today and how it's performed?
And I think they do a pretty good job. It's they don't have as many big names in it as they used to have before. I think, the NBA would be smart to up the money in the slam dunk contest and then let some of the guys give that money away to charity. Then I think you would see more guys performing in it. But, it was fun for me because the first one was probably the best one. And that was my first slam dunk contest. Because that first one is where I made my name at. And I think that's where that's the first one I probably won that I lost.
Yeah.
D Brown.
Yeah.
D Brown was the winner, but he could see underneath that blindfold. He could definitely see. So
Yeah.
if they throw you a basketball, if you have a blindfold on and they throw you a basketball and you can catch it, that means that you can see through your blindfold.
Yeah. Yeah. You were that was quite unfortunate for you, I think.
That's all right.
Yeah. After your Supersonics days, you got traded to the Cavs. How did you feel about that specific trade? Because you spent the next 3 seasons with the Cavs.
Well, it's fun, man. It's a big difference. Playing in Seattle, I played with so many veterans. We were a good team. We won. There's only 82 games a year. You play 82 games. In Seattle, I won 66 games every year.
Yeah.
And now I go to Cleveland where it's really, really cold. And now I'm playing with 11 rookies. And that's tough. It's a learning experience. You learn real quick and you learn to appreciate what you had real quick too. So, playing with some good players here in Seattle and then going to Cleveland was a bit of a lifestyle adjustment because I played with 11 rookies my first year in Cleveland. And not only are you losing a lot of games, it was cold as hell outside.
So it was a somewhat a lose-lose situation for you.
Yeah, because you build so much throughout the years of winning. Like I said, there's a big difference from playing 82 games and you win 66 games, and then when you go to a team where you win 30 games a year. It's like that's a big lifestyle change, and it takes you realize that it takes a lot more concentration, a lot more focus to play basketball. Basketball is not as fun anymore because you're not winning. Winning is what makes basketball sports fun. Very seldomly will you hear somebody say they're having fun losing.
Yeah, it never happens.
Never happens.
Never happens. But after your time with the Cavs, you joined the Portland Trail Blazers, which were a contending team back when you joined them.
Right.
They were actually stacked with several great players.
Yeah.
How would you describe your time with the Blazers?
Oh man, I love playing for Portland. We just had too many guys on the team. We had 12 All-Stars, and there wasn't enough basketballs for us. Truly, I can tell you this about my Portland days, is that our practices were tougher than our basketball games because we had better guys on our team than what we were playing against.
Yeah, that team was loaded with great players. It was a good combination of young talent and experienced players, such as yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It was still to this day, it's the highest payroll of any team sports.
Yeah, true. After the 2 seasons that you spent with the Blazers, you joined Orlando Magic at the end of your career, and I remember you joined a prime Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill.
Yeah.
Do but I think that you had a lot of misfortune because that team couldn't stay healthy. But if it could, do you think you could have potentially win a NBA championship, especially in the East at that time?
We could have really done well if Grant could have stayed healthy. We would have been a pretty good team. Tracy played great that year. He actually led the league in scoring that year, and I was able to come in and help Orlando out. But Grant still has some foot problems, and I had to struggle staying on the court. That definitely hurt the team. We needed Grant Hill to play.
Yeah, I mean that was a very interesting big three.
Yeah, absolutely. We won a lot of games that year. We went into the playoffs, and the team that beat us was the Detroit Pistons that won it all.
Yeah. That was a tough opponent, especially considering the fact that you didn't have luck with injuries and staying healthy.
Right.
So when you reflect on your NBA career, what are you most proud of?
For one, just longevity. I was blessed. I played 14 seasons in the NBA like that. No injuries, no major injuries. So to be able to go 14 with no major injuries, I was very, very blessed person. No surgeries, no anything. So I'm blessed on that. And the other part was just winning. For the majority of the teams that I played for, we won. We won, and that's got to stand for something. Unfortunately, I didn't win a championship, but most seasons that I played in the NBA, we won most games.
Yeah. What do you think of the NBA today? Do you still watch the games? Do you have time?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the NBA today. I think the guys that play today are great. I think they're highly motivated. They don't get enough credit. Unfortunately, people still compare these young guys to us older guys. Therefore, it takes a little bit off their game. But I think the guys that are playing the game today are great. They're much faster, stronger athletes than what we were. They shoot the ball a whole lot better. It's not as physical as what the game used to be. That takes a little part from it. But working with the rules, what they work with today, I think the players are pretty good.
What are your thoughts on the NBA bubble and the whole experiment behind the bubble?
God. That had to be tough. I would have had I would have struggled in the NBA bubble because I would be so used to going to arenas. Like I enjoy going to different arenas. I love the fans that yell at me because when they yell at you, that gives you so much motivation. And it would have been tough for me to play in the bubble because there's no fans. I mean, half of playing basketball comes through the fan relationship, smelling the popcorn when you walk into the stadium. Those are the things that generally get you excited and kind of get you motivated to play.
Talking about playing in different NBA arenas, which cities were kind of the toughest to play in from what you remember?
Oh, the toughest city to play in, no doubt, was Utah. Utah Jazz. Oh man, they got some fans there. They're relentless. They don't stop. They'll call you in your hotel room. They'll meet you outside before the game. They're relentless. So I'd say Utah and also Sacramento Kings. They have the cowbells. They ring those cowbells. It's the worst sound ever. So Sacramento Kings and Utah Jazz they got the worst fans ever.
What are your thoughts on what were your thoughts on the NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Heat? It seemed like LeBron took care of business once again. Did you watch the finals?
Yeah, I did. I watched the finals a lot. I think I bet on LeBron because of there was a lot of pressure on him, and I think after the Michael Jordan documentary came out. I think LeBron had a true focus on winning the championship this year. I think, and with the documentary coming out, Kobe Bryant dying, I think he was just focused on what he had to do to win, and he was deservingly the MVP of the series, and he should have got that. And I mean, he's something special, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was evident that he was locked in,
Yeah.
and the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot anymore, but I enjoy watching that when a guy really gets locked in. Anthony Davis is a great player, but LeBron James is a machine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you actually spoke about the longevity, and it's remarkable when you see a player who is 35 years old in his 17th NBA season doing the things that he's actually doing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there again, like I said, I went 14 seasons, didn't get hurt. He's in his 17th year in that same predicament where he hasn't had a real serious injury. He's taking care of his body. I mean, man, that's really big time. Like, I think we see it and we appreciate it, but to the fans out there, that's like something special when you can go 17 years and just like a fine automobile, just keep going with an oil change. And I think that's how LeBron James is, man. He's just rolling away right now. Hopefully, he can stay healthy.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what the Lakers can do in the next couple of seasons, because it seems like LeBron is still in his prime in some way.
Well, what happens is when a team like the Lakers, when they win a championship, the most important part is to see how many guys are going to come back on the team. Some of those guys are going to be sought after. I would say that like a guy like Rondo probably will end up playing for the Clippers next year.
You think so?
I think so.
Interesting. His contract is, I think, he doesn't have a contract anymore with the Lakers, so that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. I think a team like the Clippers will go after Rondo real hard.
Oh, interesting. We'll see if you're correct in a few weeks.
We'll see.
When it comes to some other NBA players, current NBA players, who are your favorites? Who are the players that you like to watch?
Well, my favorite player is I like the Toronto Raptors a lot. I like Van Fleet.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, only because he's a hustler, man. He's a dead-eye shooter. He's all over the court. He's pretty focused on what he wants to do. I like a lot of guys. I like Jimmy Butler. And I also like Kyrie.
Yeah. You mentioned Butler and Van Fleet. They're, the epitome of hardworking players who
blue collar
doing anything.
Tough. Yeah, and I also like the guy at the Mavericks, the young guy from overseas.
Luka Doncic.
No doubt. I think he's awesome, man. I think he's top 5 all day in the NBA.
You think he's top 5? Well, he's definitely, he's in his second season and almost averaging a triple-double with 30 points per game, which is
absolutely. Yeah, I think he has the mindset and he has the physical strength. If he can staying healthy is going to be a key for him. If he can continue to stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for himself.
Some say he's the second coming of Larry Bird in some regard.
Yeah, I've played against Larry Bird, and I would have to say that he's right there. He has the same talent as Larry Bird has.
When it comes to the players in the NBA today, is there anyone who reminds you of yourself in some way, shape, or form?
When I look at and I see the game today, there's one guy who definitely reminds me of himself, and that'd be Zion.
Zion.
Yeah, no doubt, Zion, because he has an athletic ability and he has the strength down low, and the way that he can move and finish baskets underneath definitely reminds me of myself.
Zion is great, and the only thing that will be I guess a question mark for him is the weight. If he can cut down on the weight and
yeah, absolutely. He's got to get stronger. He's got to cut down his weight, and he's got to stay healthy. Can't keep having surgery. So I think if he cuts down that weight a little bit, he'll be healthier next season.
I'm definitely hoping that he stays in good shape, because a basketball player of that combination of size, strength, and explosiveness is really hard to find. It comes once in a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a generational talent, and I think, yeah, I'm looking forward to him playing here in the next few months.
Mm. So we're almost at the end of the interview, and I have a few quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
So what was your favorite NBA team growing up?
My favorite team growing up was Philadelphia 76ers, Dr. J.
Dr. J. The championship squad from the 80s.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. J was the man. I used to call myself Dr. K.
Dr. K. Well, you were definitely, at least when it comes to putting people on posters, you were very, very much like Dr. J. What was the best teammate you ever played with? That's not Gary Payton.
Best teammate I ever played with, Dana Barrows.
Wow, interesting.
I just talked to him last week. He's in Boston running a basketball gym. He used to work with the Celtics as their shooting coach in the last few years. But Dana Barrows was my best teammate, because the days that I overslept, he would come over and wake me up, and I was like, Dana's the man.
Yeah, he doesn't get mentioned a lot at all. So interesting choice. Who is the most underrated player, in your opinion, from when you played in the 90s, that doesn't get enough recognition?
Drazen Petrovic.
Drazen Petrovic, really?
Yeah, he's best shooter, best scorer I almost ever seen in my entire life. He was he could score the ball as well as Michael Jordan could.
Really?
Absolutely.
Reggie Miller actually said the same thing. He said, the best shooter that I ever played against was him.
Yeah, yeah, he's one of the best I've ever seen do it. No, without a doubt.
Where do you rank yourself in terms of all-time in-game dunkers? Are there players that you would put in front of yourself?
There's got to be somewhere in the top 5, I think, because the creativity on some of my dunks and the power. It's got to be in the top 5. I think I'm a big fan of Vince Carter. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of Daryl Dawkins, guys like that and stuff. But I think I'm somewhere in the top 5 because just the ferociousness I dunked with and the athletic ability.
Mm. You were, in my opinion, one of the best power dunkers that I ever had the opportunity to see. The way you dunked the ball, it was just mind blowing. Who's your toughest matchup, or you can call it nemesis, when you played back in the day?
I mean, Karl Malone. Got a lot of respect for Karl Malone. Think he's a very good player, but I didn't like him when we played, man, because he gave me a number of butt whoopings, so I had to grow up real quick and give him a few of them back. But Karl Malone was just a tough player to play against. Tough to guard, could shoot the ball, and he can manhandle you down low.
He was a very powerful player, and he had a set of moves that he could use at any given time to score.
Absolutely.
And he had John Stockton to help along the way.
Yeah, and he could shoot the ball pretty good also.
Yeah. Your all-time favorite starting 5?
My all-time favorite starting 5 would be Michael Jordan, Magic, Larry,
Shaq,
and myself,
and yourself.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's a team that would beat this team in a 7-game series.
No way possible.
No way possible. You had everything, the inside and outside game, perfect balance.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combo right there.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you first dunked the ball? Can you remember?
Yeah, first time I jammed it was 6th grade.
6th grade.
Yeah.
And you haven't stopped ever since?
No, I haven't stopped. This is still going down. My son is a freshman in college, so yeah, every summer he makes me go out to see if I can still put it down.
Can you?
I can do it.
You can still do it.
I can do it. I'll be tired as heck afterwards, but I can still do it.
Nice. That's I don't think a lot of people can say that they can still dunk. So kudos to you. And the last question: who do you think is the GOAT?
Well,
I know there are different.
I think the GOAT is not the best scorer. It's not the best rebounder. The GOAT is the general. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that used to pass the ball and got everybody around. And we generally, if we all watch basketball, we would have to say that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird are the greatest 2 players of all time. But my favorite player is Magic Johnson because he was a facilitator. He was a general. He passed the ball. He did whatever needed to be done. He's the only player that I know who started at point guard, but his rookie season, he started at center and won the championship.
And that was the game when Kareem was out, and he pretty much took over.
Yeah, and I think, therefore, I just think that Magic Johnson was the best because he was a total team player. It's not about how many points or how many rebounds. It's about a person who can work with everybody and make it better.
Yeah, and when you take into consideration that in his 12-year-long career, he won 5 championships.
Yeah,
that's for itself.
And absolutely, he played with so many great players. I don't know anybody else who could have played with as many good players and won 5 championships.
Yeah, that's true. He was always the go-to guy.
Right. The ball was in his hands majority of the time. And that's why I think that he was probably the best, even though Michael Jordan might have been the best scorer, Will Chamberlain might have been the best big man, Magic Johnson was the best player, all-around player.
Well, that's nobody could argue with that. Magic is truly one of a kind. We pretty much concluded this section, and it was a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck with your business, and take care, especially in this unusual and crazy times.
Right.
And good luck on your opening on Friday.
Oh man, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show, and stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
All right.